I swear, men cannot take any joke. Like, honestly, the way they overreact to the tiniest comment is absolutely ridiculous. I was literally just teasing him. That is all. A harmless little joke between spouses, the kind of thing couples say to each other all the time. But apparently, I committed some unforgivable crime. I didn't mean anything inappropriate by it. It was just a stupid comment that popped out. Women compare things all the time. It is normal. We talk about who is taller, who has better hair, who dresses nicer, who has a better job, who is funnier. It is what people do. We observe differences between people, and we comment on them. That is literally human nature. But the second I make one tiny observation about my husband versus his brother, suddenly I am the villain of the century. He acted like I had accused him of something terrible, like I had destroyed his entire world with one sentence. The dramatics were absolutely unbelievable. I mean, come on. If he were actually secure in himself, he would have just laughed it off. Confident men do not fall apart over harmless teasing. They smile, they joke back, they roll their eyes, and move on with their lives. But no, not him. He had to turn it into this massive production. And his brother? His brother is super confident, charismatic, the kind of guy who walks into a room and everyone notices. So, obviously, a comparison is going to pop into my head sometimes. It does not mean anything. It is just natural human observation. I was not planning to act on anything. I was not trying to hurt anyone. It was just a thought that became words. That is literally it. But let me back up and explain how this whole nightmare started, because apparently, I need to defend myself against an entire family who decided I am some kind of terrible person over one comment at a barbecue. The setup, a normal family gathering. It was supposed to be a nice, relaxing family cookout. Nothing fancy, just his parents' backyard, some burgers and hot dogs on the grill, a few drinks, casual conversation. The kind of thing we do maybe once a month, sometimes more in the summer. I actually enjoy these gatherings most of the time. His family is generally pretty welcoming, even though his mother can be a little judgmental sometimes, and his father can be a bit gruff. But overall, they are good people, and I have always gotten along with them reasonably well. We had been married for 3 years at this point. 3 years of holidays together, family dinners, celebrations, all of it. I thought I was a part of this family. I thought they accepted me. Shows what I know. His brother Marcus showed up around noon. And look, I am just going to say it because everyone else was thinking it anyway. Marcus is attractive, like, objectively attractive. He works out constantly. He has this easy smile. He is funny. He is charming. He has a good job. Everyone always lights up when he arrives. That is just a fact. I am not blind. I can notice when someone is good-looking without it meaning anything deeper. We all notice attractive people. That is completely normal. When he walked into the backyard that day, he was wearing this fitted navy blue shirt that showed off his arms. And yeah, I noticed. So did everyone else. His mother immediately started complimenting how healthy he looked, how good he was taking care of himself. His father clapped him on the back and made some joke about him getting bigger every time they see him, asking if he was eating protein powder for breakfast. His sister kept saying how she wished her husband would work out like Marcus does, how Marcus really had his life together. See, everyone was noticing, everyone was commenting, everyone was paying attention to how good Marcus looked. But somehow, when I pay attention, it is a problem. When I notice the same things everyone else is noticing, suddenly I am crossing some invisible line. I watched as Marcus grabbed a drink from the cooler and started telling this hilarious story about something that happened at his gym. Something about a guy trying to lift way too much weight and nearly dropping it on himself. Everyone gathered around him, laughing, asking questions. He has this way of commanding attention that is just magnetic. People are drawn to him. He is the kind of person who makes gatherings more fun just by being there. My husband was standing off to the side near the grill, flipping burgers, barely engaging with the conversation. He threw in a comment here and there, but mostly he was just doing his thing, being quiet, being in the background. The contrast was just noticeable. It was like watching the sun and the moon in the same sky, one bright and warm and pulling everyone toward it. The other just kind of there, existing, functional but not exciting. I found myself laughing at all of Marcus's jokes. Was I laughing a little too much? Maybe, but he was genuinely funny. What was I supposed to do, stand there stone-faced while everyone else cracked up? That would have been rude. That would have made things awkward. I was just being a good sister-in-law, making him feel welcome and appreciated. Being friendly, being engaged, literally what you are supposed to do at family gatherings. We ate, we drank, the afternoon rolled on in that lazy summer way where time seems to slow down. The sun was warm, there was a nice breeze, the food was good. I had maybe 3 glasses of wine over the course of several hours. Not drunk, just relaxed. Loose. In a good mood. The kind of mood where conversation flows easily, and you say what is on your mind without overthinking every single word. Marcus told another story about a client meeting that went hilariously wrong. Then his sister told a story about her kids. Then his father got into some long rambling tale about something that happened at his work. It was all very comfortable and normal. I was sitting next to my husband, my hand on his knee, feeling content, feeling like this was a good day, feeling like life was pretty good overall. That is when it happened. Marcus was in the middle of describing some home renovation project he was working on, something about redoing his kitchen, and everyone was listening and nodding. I leaned over toward my husband, close enough that I thought only he could hear me, and I said it. Be honest with me. Whose size is bigger, yours or your brother's? I said it with a playful smile. Light, teasing. The way you might ask, who do you think is smarter, or who is the better cook, or who would win in a race? Just a comparison question, totally innocent in my mind. Just curious, just wondering what he thought. But the way everyone suddenly went silent, you would have thought I had announced something horrible, like I had just told them someone passed away or something. Marcus stopped mid-sentence. He nearly choked on his drink. His eyes went wide and he looked away quickly, suddenly very interested in something on the other side of the yard, like he was trying to pretend he had not heard. But he definitely heard. Everyone heard. My husband froze. His entire body went stiff. His jaw clenched so tight I could see the muscles working. He slowly turned his head to look at me, and his eyes were cold, like ice, like looking into the eyes of a stranger. I had never seen him look at me that way before, not once in 3 years of marriage. His mother's face went pale, and then immediately flushed red. His father put down his drink very slowly. His sister's mouth fell open slightly. Everyone was just staring at me. I tried to lighten the mood. I grinned and waved my hand dismissively, like, come on guys, relax. Oh, come on, it is just a joke, do not be boring. Nobody laughed, nobody smiled, nobody moved. The silence stretched out like pulling taffy, getting thinner and more uncomfortable with each passing second. I should have stopped there. I really should have. I should have read the room, recognized that I had said something wrong, and immediately backpedaled, apologized, laughed it off and changed the subject. But the wine and the awkward silence made me nervous, and when I get nervous, I talk more. I double down. I try to explain myself out of holes instead of just shutting up. I leaned in again and whispered, except it came out louder than I intended, and everyone still heard every single word. I mean, I could guess based on what I have seen, but I want to hear it from you. Come on, you must have noticed. You grew up together. That was the moment everything exploded. The explosion. My husband calls my bluff. My husband stood up so abruptly that his chair scraped loudly against the concrete patio. Everyone jumped. He looked down at me with an expression I could not quite read. Anger, definitely, but also something else. Disappointment, disgust, betrayal. I do not know. Some awful combination of all of it. Then he said it, the sentence that would ruin everything. If you are so curious, go measure for yourself. His voice was completely calm, eerily calm, the kind of calm that is actually terrifying because you know there is a volcano underneath it. I laughed. It came out nervous and high-pitched, not at all how I intended. It sounded fake even to my own ears. Stop, you are embarrassing me. But he was not joking. He was not smiling. His face was completely serious. He turned and walked toward Marcus, who was already standing up, looking extremely uncomfortable and trying to back away toward the house, holding his hands up like, I want no part of this. My husband's voice was calm, too calm, the kind of calm that made my skin crawl. She wants to compare. You good with that? Dude, no, Marcus started, shaking his head, taking another step back. But my husband cut him off. No, seriously. She asked the question. Seems like she really wants to know. Seems like this is something that has been on her mind for a while. So let's give her the answer she is looking for. Panic hit me like a physical wave. This was not going how I expected at all. This was not how this was supposed to play out. He was supposed to brush it off, or maybe get a little annoyed but let it go, or take me aside later to talk about it. He was not supposed to do this. I stood up quickly, nearly knocking over my wine glass in the process. Some wine sloshed onto the table. I did not mean it like that. Oh my goodness, you are taking this way too seriously. My husband turned back to me, and the look on his face made my stomach drop to my feet. Made me feel like I might actually be in danger, not physically, but in some other fundamental way. You asked the question, now go get your answer. The way he said it was so cold, so detached, like he was talking to a stranger he had just met. Like I was some random person on the street, not his wife, not the woman he had vowed to love and cherish. Like I was nothing to him. I looked around the table desperately, hoping someone would laugh, would break the tension, would tell him he was overreacting, and we should all just calm down and have another drink. But nobody did. Everyone was staring at me. Every single person. His mother looked disgusted. Actually disgusted. Like I was something dirty she had found stuck to the bottom of her shoe. His father looked disappointed and angry, his arms crossed over his chest. His sister had her hand over her mouth, shaking her head slowly back and forth, her eyes wide. Marcus was backing away further, hand still up, saying, "This is not, I am not, can we just—" But nobody was listening to him. "This is insane," I said, my voice shaking now, getting higher. "It was sarcasm, a joke. You are all being so dramatic right now." But my husband was not done. Oh no, he was not done. He took a step closer to me, and when he spoke, his voice was loud enough for everyone to hear clearly. He wanted them to hear. He was performing now, and I was the unwilling co-star in this nightmare. You flirt with him at every single gathering. You compare me to him behind my back. Yeah, I have heard you on the phone with your friends. I have heard you tell Sarah that you wish I would work out more like Marcus does. I have heard you laugh and say Marcus really has his life together. Today you finally said it directly, in front of my entire family. So go ahead, see if he is everything you have been fantasizing about. My face burned. I felt like I was going to throw up. The wine in my stomach turned to acid. This was not fair. Yes, maybe I had mentioned to my friend Sarah once or twice that Marcus was attractive. Maybe I had made a comment about how my husband could take fitness tips from his brother. Maybe I had said something about Marcus having a nice place or a good job or being confident. But that was just girl talk. That was private. That was the kind of thing friends say to each other when they are venting or just chatting or being honest. He was not supposed to know about those conversations. He was not supposed to be listening. And he definitely was not supposed to throw it in my face in front of his entire family, like I was some kind of terrible person. That is not, I started, but his mother cut me off. Her voice was sharp and final, the voice of someone who has made a decision and will not be swayed. In this family, we do not joke like that. Get out of my house. I stared at her. She was serious. Completely serious. Her face was set like stone. You cannot be. Now, she said. The humiliation was crushing. It felt like someone had wrapped chains around my chest and was pulling them tighter and tighter until I could not breathe. I could feel tears starting to build behind my eyes, hot and insistent, but I refused to cry in front of them. I would not give them that satisfaction. I would not let them see me break. I grabbed my purse from the chair with shaking hands and started walking toward the side gate, my legs feeling like they might give out underneath me. I kept expecting my husband to follow me, expecting him to come after me, to cool down, to drive me home so we could fight about this in private like normal couples do, like adults. But he did not follow me. The abandonment left behind. I made it to the front of the house where our car was parked and stood there waiting. The sun was still bright, still warm, like the world had not just ended, like everything was still normal. 5 minutes passed, then 10. I could hear muffled voices from the backyard, people talking, but I could not make out what they were saying. Were they talking about me? Probably, definitely. I called his phone. It rang 4 times and went to voicemail. His voice on the recording sounded so normal, so him. Hey, you have reached. Leave a message. I hung up. I texted him. Are you seriously leaving me here? I watched the screen. The message showed as delivered, then read. He had seen it. He was looking at his phone right now and choosing not to respond. No response came. I waited another 5 minutes, staring at my phone, willing it to buzz with a response. Nothing. The screen stayed dark and silent. I walked back to the gate and peered into the backyard. Most people had gone inside, but I could see movement through the windows. My husband and Marcus were walking into the house together through the back door. The door closed behind them. Everyone else had gone inside too. I was alone in the yard, alone in the late afternoon sun, alone with my humiliation. I walked to the front door and knocked, loud enough that they had to hear me, loud enough that there was no way to pretend they did not know I was there. Are you serious right now? Come drive me home. The door opened just wide enough for my husband to look out at me. His face was completely blank, empty, like looking at a mannequin. No expression at all. You are not riding with me. Ask the brother you admire so much. His voice was flat, emotionless. Then he closed the door, just shut it in my face. I heard the lock click. I knocked again. Harder, hard enough that my knuckles hurt. This is ridiculous. Open the door. We need to talk about this. Nothing. Silence. Complete silence from inside. I knocked again. And again. I called his phone 3 more times. Voicemail, voicemail, voicemail. I could see movement through the windows. People walking around inside, talking, someone laughing at something. Life continuing. They were having a nice afternoon in there, while I stood on the porch like some kind of unwanted salesperson, completely ignoring me, like I did not exist, like I had never existed. The humiliation was unbearable. It was worse than anything I had ever felt, worse than bombing a presentation at work, worse than any embarrassment from school. This was a whole new level. I stood there on the front porch of my in-laws' house, alone, with no ride home, tears finally spilling down my face, hot, angry tears that I could not hold back anymore. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands and opened the rideshare app. The nearest driver was 15 minutes away, then 20 minutes. I accepted the ride and stood there, waiting, watching the little car icon move slowly across the map toward me. Each minute felt like an hour. A neighbor came out to get their mail and glanced at me standing on the porch. They did a double take when they saw my face, saw me crying, but they did not say anything, just hurried back inside. Great, now the neighbors were going to know something was wrong too. The rideshare driver finally pulled up, a guy in his 50s driving a Honda. He looked at me, looked at my tear-stained face, and his expression shifted to awkward sympathy. "Rough day?" he asked as I got in the back seat. "You have no idea," I managed to say. The ride home was silent except for my occasional sniffling. The driver kept glancing at me in the rearview mirror, but did not ask if I was okay, which I appreciated. I must have looked pathetic, red-faced, crying, mascara probably running, riding home alone from a family gathering. The driver probably thought I had just been dumped or fired or something. He had no idea. When we pulled up to my house, our house, the house I shared with my husband, it looked the same as always, normal, like nothing had changed, like my life had not just imploded. "Hope things get better," the driver said as I got out. "Thanks," I whispered. I went straight to our bedroom and collapsed on the bed. I expected my husband to come home eventually, maybe in a few hours once he cooled off, and felt bad about leaving me there. We would have a huge fight, probably, but we would work through it. That is what married couples do. They fight, they make up, they move forward. That is how marriage works. He did not come home that night. I barely slept. I kept checking my phone, expecting a text or a call. Nothing. I called him twice more, voicemail both times. I sent texts. "Can we please talk about this?" And "I am sorry, okay, come home." And "This is not how you handle problems in a marriage." No responses to any of them. The messages showed as read, but no responses came. By morning, I was exhausted and anxious and starting to genuinely worry. Had something happened to him? Was he okay? Maybe he had gotten into an accident driving home angry. Maybe he was hurt. Maybe I should call hospitals. But then I thought, no, he would not do that. He is fine. He is just making a point. He is being dramatic and punishing me by making me worry. He will come home today and we will talk. I went downstairs around 8 in the morning to make coffee, hoping the caffeine would help clear my head. I was planning what I would say to him when he walked through the door. How I would apologize but also explain that he overreacted. How we would find some middle ground. That is when I saw it. The final humiliation. Packed and discarded my suitcase, sitting in the middle of the living room. Packed. Not just tossed together. Actually packed. Neatly folded clothes. Everything organized. He had taken the time to go through our closet and drawers and pack my things properly. Next to it was a trash bag with my toiletries, my shampoo, my conditioner, my face wash, my moisturizer, my makeup, all of it, everything from the bathroom that was mine. On the kitchen counter, reflecting the morning light, my wedding ring sat on a folded piece of paper. My hands were shaking as I walked over and picked up the note. The paper felt heavy, like it weighed 1,000 pounds. I unfolded it slowly, almost not wanting to see what it said. "If you want a different man, do not stay married to me." That was it. No signature, no explanation, no "we need to talk" or "I need space." Just that one sentence in his handwriting. His neat, careful handwriting that I recognized from birthday cards and grocery lists, and all the small written things that make up a shared life. I stood there in shock, reading it over and over. The words did not make sense. They could not mean what I thought they meant. This could not be happening. People do not end marriages over one joke, over one comment made at a barbecue. This was insane. This was a massive overreaction to something so small. I grabbed my phone and called him, straight to voicemail, the mechanical voice. "The person you are trying to reach is not available." I called again. Voicemail. I called again. Voicemail. I sent a text. "Where are you? We need to talk about this like adults. You cannot just end our marriage over one stupid comment." Nothing, no response. The message showed as delivered, but not read this time. Had he blocked me? No, that was impossible. You do not block your wife. You do not block your spouse of 3 years because of one argument. Then my phone buzzed. A text from a number I had saved as Mom Mitchell, his mother. Next time you want to compare men, do it somewhere else. You are not welcome here anymore. I stared at the message in disbelief. His mother? His mother was getting involved in our marriage. She was taking sides and sending me messages like this. What happened to supporting your son's marriage? What happened to helping couples work through problems? I tried calling her. She did not answer. The phone rang twice and went to voicemail. She had rejected the call. Actually pressed the button to reject it. I tried calling Marcus, thinking maybe he could talk some sense into everyone. Maybe he could explain that I was just joking, that everyone misunderstood. Maybe he could mediate. He always seemed reasonable and level-headed. I pulled up his contact and hit call. The line did not even ring. It went straight to a message. This number is not available. He had blocked me. Marcus had actually blocked me on his phone. I checked social media. I pulled up his profile. This content is unavailable. Blocked there too. Blocked on everything. I tried his sister. Surely his sister would talk to me. We had always gotten along okay. She answered on the third ring, but before I could say anything beyond, "Hi, it's..." she cut me off. "What you did was disgusting. Leave my family alone." Then she hung up. I sat down on the couch, still holding my phone, staring at the suitcase and the trash bag and the ring on the counter. This was not real. This could not be real. This was some kind of nightmare that I would wake up from. But I did not wake up. Hours passed. The morning turned to afternoon. The sun moved across the sky, and nothing changed. Nobody called. Nobody texted. My husband did not come home. The aftermath, abandoned and alone. Over the next few days, I tried everything I could think of. I called my husband's phone at least 30 times. Always voicemail. I sent long texts explaining that it was just a joke, that I never meant to hurt him, that everyone was blowing this completely out of proportion. No responses. The messages stayed on delivered, not blocked, but not read. Like he had turned off his read receipt specifically for me. I showed up at his parents' house. I knocked on the door for 10 minutes straight. Nobody answered, even though I could see cars in the driveway. I could see shadows moving inside. They were home. They were just refusing to answer. I called his work. The receptionist said he had taken some personal days. When would he be back? She did not know. Could she take a message? Sure, but she could not guarantee when he would get it. I called his best friend Dan. Dan had been the best man at our wedding. Surely Dan would talk to me. Dan answered, but his voice was cold. I heard what happened. "It was a misunderstanding," I said quickly. "I need to explain." He told me everything. What you said, how you said it. You embarrassed him in front of his whole family. But I did not mean intention does not really matter when the impact is that bad. Maybe give him space. For how long? I do not know. Maybe a long time. Maybe forever. Then he hung up. Forever. The word echoed in my head. Forever. I called my own friends, desperate for someone to take my side. My friend Sarah, who I had mentioned Marcus to, was sympathetic, but even she said, "I mean, yeah, what you said was pretty bad. If I compared my husband to his brother like that in front of everyone, he would lose his mind." My coworker Jennifer said, "Honestly? You messed up. That is not something you say to a man about his own brother, especially not in public." My sister said, "What were you thinking? Of course he is upset. I would be furious if my husband did that to me." Only my friend Brittany took my full side. "He is being too sensitive. Men need to learn to take a joke. You were just playing around. This is ridiculous." But even Brittany admitted when I pressed her that maybe I should not have said it in front of his family. The reality of what I had done started to sink in slowly, like water seeping through a cracked dam. At first just a trickle, then more and more until it became a flood I could not ignore. I had compared my husband to his brother, not in a neutral way, not in a who is taller or who has better taste in music way. In the most intimate, most personal way possible. The kind of comparison that strikes at the heart of a man's insecurity. The kind of question that says, I am wondering if your brother is better than you in the most private way. And I had done it in front of his parents, his sister, his brother himself, everyone he loved and respected, everyone whose opinion mattered to him. I had humiliated him publicly, completely, utterly, in a way that he could never take back or forget, in a way that his family would never forget. Every future gathering, every holiday, every dinner, they would remember. They would remember the time his wife compared him to his brother in front of everyone. And when he had reacted, when he had stood up for himself, when he had finally put his foot down after what he said was a pattern of me comparing them, I had acted like he was the problem, like he was overreacting, like he was being dramatic and unreasonable. I had not apologized immediately. I had not been horrified at my own words. I had doubled down, I had laughed, I had told everyone they were being too sensitive. The justification, still defending myself. But you know what? Even knowing all of that, even seeing how everyone reacted, I still think they took it too far. It was not even that serious. People joke about this kind of stuff all the time. I have heard women at work talk about rating guys they know, comparing partners, discussing who they think is more attractive. I have seen countless social media posts where people compare their partners to celebrities or exes or whatever. It is just conversation, it is just curiosity. It does not mean anything real. I did not ask to do anything with his brother. I did not suggest cheating. I did not even say Marcus was better. I just asked a comparison question, one single question. And they all acted like I had committed this unforgivable betrayal, like I had actually done something instead of just asking something. They took it way too far, all of them. His mother kicking me out was ridiculous. I am her son's wife. You do not kick out family members over one comment. You pull them aside, you talk to them, you work it out. You do not banish them. His brother blocking me was an overreaction. We were friends. We had always gotten along. He could have just told me I made him uncomfortable instead of cutting me out completely. And my husband, refusing to even speak to me, packing my things, leaving his wedding ring like our 3 years of marriage mean nothing. That is cruel. That is vindictive. That is not how you handle conflict in a relationship. You talk, you argue, you go to therapy, you work on things. You do not just throw away years of partnership because your feelings got hurt. I should not have been kicked out over something so small. I should not be losing my marriage because of one comment made at a family barbecue. If anything, they should apologize to me for embarrassing me like that, for making me feel like some kind of terrible person when I was just being playful, when I was just speaking my mind, when I was just being honest. They punished me for honesty. That is what really happened here. I said something true, that I had noticed differences between him and his brother, and they could not handle it. They preferred comfortable lies over uncomfortable truths. That is on them, not me. The truth I will not acknowledge. But deep down, in the parts of myself I do not want to look at too closely, in the dark corners I keep locked away, I know the truth. I know I crossed a line that should never be crossed. I know that comparing your husband to another man, especially his own brother, especially in the most intimate way possible, especially in front of his entire family, is not just a joke. It is betrayal, it is cruelty, it is humiliation in its purest form. I know that asking about something that personal, something that private, something that goes to the core of how a man sees himself, was unforgivable. Some things you do not joke about, some comparisons you do not make. Ever. I know that he had probably noticed me watching Marcus for years, probably noticed the way my eyes followed him at gatherings, probably noticed how I laughed a little too hard at his jokes, probably noticed how I found excuses to talk to him, to be near him, probably noticed 1,000 little things that I thought were subtle but were actually obvious to everyone. I know that my phone conversations with Sarah were not as private as I thought, that the walls in our house are thin and my voice carries. That he heard me say things like, "I wish my husband had Marcus's confidence," and "Marcus really takes care of himself," and "Sometimes I wonder what it would be like if I had met Marcus first." I know that I made him feel small and inadequate in front of the people he loves most. I made him feel like he was not enough, like he was being measured and found wanting, like he was competing with his own brother for his own wife's approval and losing. I know that when he said I had been comparing them behind his back, he was not exaggerating. He was not being dramatic. He was telling the truth, multiple times, to multiple friends. I had made it clear to anyone who would listen that I thought his brother had something my husband did not. I know that the question I asked was not just about height or shoe size or something innocent. Everyone knew exactly what I was asking. There is no way to misinterpret it, no way to play it off as something else. And asking it while looking at Marcus, while smiling at Marcus, while including Marcus in the conversation, made it even worse. I was not just comparing them privately in my head. I was inviting Marcus into it, inviting his family into it, making it public. I know that my husband's response, as harsh as it felt, was him finally standing up for himself, finally refusing to be second place, finally refusing to tolerate my disrespect, finally drawing a line and saying, "This far and no further." I know that his family's reaction was not overblown. They were not being dramatic. They were protecting someone they love from someone who hurt him, from me. They were showing him that they saw what I did, that it was not acceptable, that they were on his side. I know that Marcus blocking me was not an overreaction. It was him setting a healthy boundary because I had made him uncomfortable, probably multiple times over the years with comments and looks and behavior that crossed lines. And he was done with it. He was protecting himself and his brother. I know, somewhere in the part of my brain, that I keep locked away behind thick walls, that I destroyed my own marriage, that I humiliated the man who loved me, that I did it publicly, cruelly, casually, and then tried to play it off like everyone else was the problem. I know that when I had the chance to apologize, to take it back, to be horrified at my own words, I chose instead to laugh, to minimize, to act like he was being ridiculous. I chose my pride over his feelings. I chose being right over being kind. I know that everything he said about me was true. I did flirt with Marcus. I did compare them constantly. I did think about what life would be like with Marcus instead. I did cross lines over and over, and he tolerated it until I finally crossed one he could not forgive. But I will never say any of that out loud, because if I admit it, then I have to face what I really am. I have to face the fact that I was the villain in this story, that I hurt someone who trusted me, that I betrayed someone who loved me, that I got exactly what I deserved, and I am not ready to face that. I may never be ready to face that. So instead, I tell myself it was just a joke, just a comment, just an overreaction from people who could not handle a little honesty. I tell myself I am the victim here, that they all turned on me for nothing, that I deserve better than this treatment. I tell myself I was kicked out unfairly, that I was abandoned cruelly, that my marriage ended over something tiny and insignificant. I tell myself these lies because the truth is too painful. The truth is that I asked a question I had no right to ask. I compared my husband to his brother in the worst possible way. I did it in front of everyone who mattered to him. And when he gave me the chance to take it back, to apologize, to fix it, I doubled down. I made it worse. I laughed like it was nothing, like he was nothing. The truth is that when he told me to go measure for myself, he was not just calling my bluff. He was showing me exactly what I had done. He was holding up a mirror to my behavior and forcing me to see how cruel it was, how disrespectful it was, how unacceptable it was. And instead of apologizing, instead of being horrified at my reflection, I acted like the mirror was the problem. The truth is that I deserved every bit of what happened. The silence, the stares, the rejection, the packed suitcase, the wedding ring left behind like trash. All of it, every single bit of it. The truth is that he did not overreact. He reacted exactly appropriately to a betrayal. He protected himself from someone who hurt him repeatedly. He chose his dignity over his marriage, and he was right to do so. But I will never admit that. Instead, I will keep telling this story like I am the wronged party, like I am the one who deserves sympathy, like my husband and his family were cruel and unreasonable, like I was abandoned and rejected for no good reason, because that version is easier to live with, even if it is completely, utterly, devastatingly false. Even if, deep down, I know that I ruined the best thing I ever had, even if I know that I will probably regret this for the rest of my life, I will keep telling myself the lie, because the truth would break me, and I am not strong enough to be broken. Not yet. Maybe not ever.